A long time ago, I was searching Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for a new phone. This was back when the iPhone 7 was still popular, so the phone had the old home button. I came across a listing for a phone. It was some generic post that said iPhone whatever for sale, for around $300. It was a really good deal for the time, and I remember thinking it sounded too good to be true. The seller told me all the details I needed to know. It was factory unlocked, never opened, and so on. He even sent me a video of the box, still sealed. The guy, whose name was Melvin, seemed nice and easy to talk to over text. I got his number and we discussed a pickup point. His location on the Facebook ad was much closer to me, but over text, he told me he had only been there that morning and had now gone back about an hour north. I wasn't thrilled about this, but it was such a good deal, and I didn't want to pass it up. I started asking around to see if any of my friends would come with me. Really, I just wanted to make the hour-long drive feel more like an adventure. My friend Martina actually agreed to come, on the condition that I would buy her food. So, Melvin sent the address of a police precinct about an hour away, saying he only does deals in police parking lots to avoid scams. I had no problem with this. It actually made me feel a little more confident about the whole situation. I picked Martina up around 8:30 p.m. and off we went. Having someone to talk to made the trip more fun, and it was a Friday night, so afterwards we planned to go out and do whatever we wanted. When I got off the highway, we were about 10 minutes away from the precinct. As we drove, we found ourselves in a very secluded area. Lots of wooded spaces, occasional buildings or houses, and then more woods. When we got to the police precinct, there was no one visibly parked in the lot except for empty police cars. We drove around the building a couple of times but didn't see anyone. Melvin said he was in a black Altima, so I decided to give him a call. He picked up and told me he was having car issues on the side of the road and asked if I could come help him. He sent his location and I checked it. He was on some random road with nothing on either side, just the woods. He said he had jumper cables and asked if I would help jump his car. I guess I can do that, I said. I mean, we had already driven an hour, and I didn't want to drive all the way back just for nothing. Martina was shaking her head the whole time I was on the phone. Melvin said, "See you soon," and hung up. Martina basically screamed, "No way, this is sketchy, we're going home." I told her, let's just drive past the location he sent and see what's up. Inside, I did agree with her though. It seemed incredibly sketchy. I was just really upset at the thought of driving 2 hours for nothing. So we drove to the location, and when we got there, we saw the reflection of car headlights coming up the pitch-black road. As we got closer, I slowed down, and sure enough, it was a black car. But we couldn't see anyone inside or outside of it. It was too dark. Martina said we should keep on driving, and I knew it was the sketchiest thing I'd ever seen. A pitch-black road between two patches of woods. No streetlights, no other cars in sight. It was the perfect place to break down and have someone with a wad of cash meet them there. I drove right past it immediately, and Melvin started calling me over and over. I ignored every single call. Then he texted me, "I saw you pass me. Why didn't you stop?" And then he texted again, "Turn around." But I ignored him. Martina tried to be positive. She just laughed at the situation and said, "Okay, you owe me food." So I looked up the nearest diner and we stopped there for a bite to eat. It was a quiet, small place, and we were pretty much the only people there, even on a Friday night. The waitress took our order, and then a lone guy in a hood stepped into the diner and sat at one of the bar stools. He wore a navy blue, dirty-looking hoodie, and he glanced over at Martina and me before looking straight ahead, talking to the lady behind the counter, ordering a coffee. The man kept glancing at our table every minute, so I whispered to Martina, "Don't look now, but I think the guy at the counter might be Melvin." The waitress brought us our drinks and asked if we were ready to order. I said we needed a few minutes. When the lady delivered the man his coffee, he said, "Thank you, darling," and I knew it was Melvin's voice, or whatever his name really was. I told Martina, "That's him." I waved the server over and whispered for the check. She asked if something was wrong, and I noticed the guy looking over at us. I said, "Yeah, we just wanted the drinks for the road." She quickly returned with the check. I paid. We chugged our drinks and left the diner. As we got back to my car, Martina said, "Oh my God, he's getting up." I looked inside the diner, and I saw him heading towards the door as quickly as possible. I drove us out of the lot and sped down the road. Yes, we had noticed a black car in the parking lot. It could have been the one we saw on the side of the road, but I was driving too fast to know for sure. We got back on the highway, and I was speeding for a while until my tire pressure light came on. I knew instantly that he had slashed my tire. The pressure was dropping fast, so I pulled over to the side of the highway to park. I got out and confirmed that my tire was, in fact, slashed. I had to replace it with a spare, which took about 15 minutes. The whole thing was a disaster. But if you're wondering, yes, I still bought Martina dinner that night. Now, we look back on this as just a crazy story we can tell people. But it's absolutely terrifying thinking about how close we were to walking right into a trap. I never thought selling a busted old keyboard on Craigslist would leave me looking over my shoulder every day. My friends told me to write this down, not because they think it'll go viral or anything, but because, as one of them put it, if it happened to you, it could happen to somebody else. So, this is me doing that. My name is Stanton. I'm 24 and I compose music for local choirs and small productions. It's not glamorous. I live with a roommate in a decent little duplex outside the city. Money has always been tight, so I sometimes sell old music gear online. You'd be amazed by what people will pay for a beat-up mic stand or a broken synthesizer. A few months ago, I listed a cheap keyboard on Craigslist. It was missing a key, no longer had the built-in speakers, and the power cord was held together with electrical tape. I listed it for $25, nothing special. It was basically clutter at that point, but I figured it was worth a shot before throwing it out. The listing had maybe 3 lines. Old keyboard, missing a key, no speakers, works with aux out, local pickup only. Nothing fancy. I wasn't trying to upsell it or make a profit. I just wanted it gone. I got a few nibbles that first day, but they were all lowballers. One guy asked if I would deliver it for $5. Then, around 2 in the morning, I got a text. "Is it available still? I'll come now. I'm close." I was still up, editing stems for a vocal session the next day, so I just replied, "Still available. Pick up tomorrow? Where are you coming from?" I didn't get an answer for a while, but then, probably 10 minutes later, "I'll come tonight. I need to use it." I felt that was weird, but definitely not the weirdest message I've ever gotten. I said no, not tonight, but that I was free anytime the next day after 6. No response. By the next evening, I'd forgotten all about it. My roommate and I were watching a movie, something dumb and loud on Netflix, and at 9:30 the doorbell rang. My roommate muted the TV and looked at me with confusion, and I said I wasn't expecting anyone. At the door was a man, probably mid-40s, tall, pale, and very thin. He had a buzzed head and deep eye bags like he hadn't slept in days. He wore a long black coat that looked like a thrifted trench that didn't quite fit right, and he just stared at me. You here for the keyboard?" I asked, and he nodded. He didn't say anything. He just followed me with his eyes as I brought it out from the hallway and gave it to him. And then he said, "I have to check that it works." I reminded him about the speakers and said that he would need an extra amp or headphones, but I assured him that it was working. Then he pulled out a small handheld speaker he brought and connected it to the keyboard. He played a short tune to test it. It was maybe 6 notes, very slow. And for some reason, he stared at me while he played it, just dead in the eyes, and that bothered me more than anything. He didn't say anything when he finished. He didn't smile or say thank you. He just nodded once, handed me a wad of cash, scooped up the keyboard, and walked away down the street. He didn't have a car or a bike. He just walked away into the night. I closed the door, and my roommate and I burst out laughing. I said it was the weirdest sale of the year. But something was bugging me. Not just the guy, but those notes that he had played. It wasn't a full melody, but it was like he played it for me. Like it was supposed to have a meaning. But it didn't. At least, not then. A few days had passed, and I stopped thinking about it much. Then, shortly after 2 a.m., I got a voicemail. I hadn't even noticed that a call came through. Just suddenly the notification, 1 new voicemail. And the message was that tune. Those exact same 6 notes. I tried to call the number back, but the call would not go through. So I went to message him on Craigslist, but his entire profile and our messages were gone, deleted. That was over 2 months ago, and I haven't sold anything since. And just this week, it happened again. I was at a small local performance. A friend of mine conducts a youth choir and invited me to hear their spring program. It was all upbeat, modern stuff. Lots of group harmonies, feel-good arrangements. They performed in this little church gymnasium with awful acoustics and uncomfortable folding chairs. And there were maybe about 40 people in attendance. The final piece was an arrangement of a folk song. It was pretty forgettable, until the pianist added a short interlude halfway through. 6 notes. And I stopped breathing. I looked at the player, a teenage girl, maybe 17, just calmly sitting at the piano, following the conductor. I knew she had no idea what it meant. To her, it was probably just some filler line her teacher wrote in. I glanced around the audience, but no one else had reacted. I didn't see the pale man or the black trench coat, or those dead eyes. Yet there were those notes, hidden in plain sight. I waited until after the performance and found the conductor so I could ask who arranged that piece. He said it came from an online archive, a teacher's forum where people swap open-source sheet music. Nothing official. I asked if I could see the music, and there it was. Those 6 notes, written as a filler bar in the middle of the piano part. Just scrawled there, with no credit, no name. I went home that night and replayed the voicemail, over and over. I hoped that I would suddenly remember that it was a common tune that I'd heard before, and it was all just some weird prank. But now, I can't listen to anything without waiting for that tune, those notes. And I swear, every once in a while, I hear it again. Once in a commercial jingle, once hummed by a kid on the train, once played by a street performer outside of a Target downtown. I've never stopped to ask. I always just walk away faster. I don't know what it means, or why he played it for me, or how it is spreading. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it is just a melody I've never noticed before, and my brain is filling in blanks. But maybe he's out there, dropping it into the world, one piece at a time.